Good evening, and welcome to Cross Currents. Tonight, we're tackling a contentious question. Is it fair for government to bail out failing businesses with taxpayer money? This issue sits at the crossroads of economic policy, social responsibility, and market principles. Joining us are Dr. Ben Carter, an economist who sees bailouts as a sometimes necessary tool for stability, and Ms. Olivia Hayes, a policy analyst who argues against them, championing fair competition. Welcome to you both. We'll have opening statements, 2 rounds of discussion, and then closing remarks. Dr. Carter, please begin.
Thank you, Sarah. The idea of using public funds for private companies is indeed controversial, and rightly so. However, I contend that a complete prohibition on bailouts overlooks critical economic realities. There are specific situations where such intervention is vital. These are instances where a major company's failure could trigger systemic risk, threatening a wider economic collapse and impacting countless jobs and businesses. The financial crisis of 2008 is a stark reminder where the stability of the entire global economy was at stake. Similarly, interventions in sectors like the auto industry, while debated, arguably preserved vital jobs and manufacturing capabilities in some nations. The aim isn't to reward the failing company, but to shield the broader economy and ordinary citizens from severe hardship. It's crucial that these bailouts are not blank checks. They must come with strict, non-negotiable conditions. This includes the government taking equity stakes so taxpayers can benefit from any recovery. It also means firm limits on executive pay. Furthermore, a clear, enforceable restructuring plan is essential to address the root causes of failure and ensure future viability without ongoing aid. Support should be temporary, a bridge to recovery, not a permanent crutch. The decision hinges on a crucial question. Is the cost of inaction, potentially catastrophic economic damage, far greater than the cost of a carefully managed bailout? In exceptional circumstances, I believe the answer is yes.
Thank you, Sarah. Dr. Carter, while I understand the concern for economic stability, I firmly believe that government bailouts are fundamentally unfair and detrimental to a healthy market economy. When the government rescues a failing business with taxpayer funds, it undermines market integrity. It signals that businesses can make irresponsible decisions or fail to adapt, yet still expect a publicly funded safety net, a safety net not available to their more prudent competitors. This directly fosters moral hazard. If large firms believe they're, quote, too big to fail, their incentive to operate responsibly diminishes significantly. Essentially, profits remain private, while losses are socialized, which is contrary to free market principles. Moreover, bailouts can impede innovation and the essential economic process of, quote, creative destruction. Artificially supporting failing companies creates, quotes, zombie firms. These firms drain resources that could fuel newer, more dynamic businesses, thus slowing long-term economic growth and adaptation. We must also question the government's ability to choose which companies to save without political bias. The influence of lobbyists is a serious concern. Such interventions distort the market, create an uneven playing field, and protect established entities at the expense of innovation and sound management. Our focus should be on fostering resilience and managing failure through predictable processes, not on ad hoc rescues that erode market discipline.
Thank you both for those clear opening statements. Dr. Carter, Ms. Hayes has emphasized the problem of moral hazard. How can governments realistically structure bailouts to prevent companies from expecting future rescues and thus minimizing that risk of irresponsible behavior?
That's a critical point. To mitigate moral hazard, bailouts must be punitive for those responsible and beneficial for taxpayers if successful. Existing shareholders should face significant losses, and there should be consequences for the management that led the company to this point, including potential replacement. Government support should involve acquiring equity or warrants, allowing taxpayers to share in any upside from recovery, turning it into an investment rather than a mere grant. The aid must also be temporary, linked to a strict, verifiable restructuring plan, ensuring the company becomes self-sufficient. Active oversight is needed to enforce this, preventing dependency.
Ms. Hayes, Dr. Carter argues that the failure of a systemically important company could unleash devastating consequences for the broader economy and employment. In such scenarios, isn't there a governmental duty to prevent such widespread harm, even if market intervention is generally undesirable?
The fear of economic catastrophe is understandable, but we shouldn't underestimate established market mechanisms like orderly bankruptcy. These are designed to manage corporate failure. Bankruptcy doesn't always mean liquidation. It can lead to restructuring and a chance for viable parts of a business to continue under new, more capable management. Instead of propping up the failing company itself, which, as discussed, has negative consequences, support should target affected individuals and communities. This means robust unemployment benefits, investment in job retraining programs, and aid for regional economic diversification. This helps people without rewarding corporate failure.
Ms. Hayes, if direct bailouts are avoided, what specific alternatives should exist for a systemically vital business whose failure could cripple essential services or financial stability? Are current bankruptcy laws truly adequate for such complex, rapid-onset crises, or are new mechanisms needed?
Proactive measures are key. We need stronger regulations to prevent firms from becoming too big to fail. Things like higher capital reserves for major financial institutions and clear living wills. For unavoidable failures of systemic entities, we need well-developed resolution authorities that can manage an orderly wind-down or restructuring, ensuring critical functions continue. These mechanisms must ensure losses fall on shareholders and creditors, not taxpayers. The priority is systemic stability and service continuity, not saving the company itself. Fostering a diversified economy with more competition also reduces the impact of any single failure, making the system inherently more resilient.
Dr. Carter, a common criticism is that bailouts often seem to protect shareholders and executives more than workers or taxpayers. How can bailout terms be structured to genuinely prioritize public interest, safeguard jobs effectively, and maximize the chances of recouping taxpayer funds, perhaps even generating a return?
Public trust is paramount. Bailouts must demonstrably serve the public good. As stated, government taking equity stakes is non-negotiable. Taxpayers should benefit from recovery. Strict limits on executive compensation, including bonus bans and clawback provisions for past bonuses if misconduct is found, are essential to ensure accountability. Worker protection can be integrated, such as commitments to employment levels or retraining, balanced with the company's need for restructuring to achieve viability. Full transparency in the bailout process, from justification to progress reporting, is also vital for maintaining public confidence and ensuring accountability throughout.
To conclude, while the desire to avert economic pain is understandable, bailing out failing businesses with taxpayer money remains a deeply problematic policy. It's fundamentally unfair to businesses that operate responsibly, and to the taxpayers who ultimately foot the bill for others' poor decisions or misfortunes. The issue of moral hazard is significant. It encourages excessive risk-taking by creating an expectation of rescue, thereby making future crises more likely. Bailouts also distort market dynamics, supporting inefficient companies at the expense of innovation and the efficient allocation of capital, which harms long-term economic health. We should champion free market principles where success is earned, and failure, while difficult, is a natural part of the economic life cycle, driving adaptation and improvement. Our policy should focus on creating a level playing field, supporting workers through transitions with strong safety nets and retraining, not on rescuing specific corporations. An economy built on true accountability and innovation will always be stronger and fairer than one reliant on selective government lifelines.
In closing, I want to stress that bailouts should never be a routine action. They are by nature measures of last resort for exceptional circumstances. However, when faced with the credible threat of systemic collapse, where the failure of one entity could trigger widespread economic devastation, a well-structured conditional bailout can be the most responsible, albeit difficult, choice. The alternative, an uncontrolled economic downturn, often inflicts far greater suffering on ordinary citizens through mass unemployment and loss of savings. Effective bailouts are temporary, impose strict conditions, protect taxpayer interests through mechanisms like equity stakes, and demand accountability and thorough restructuring from the recipient. This isn't about rewarding poor performance. It's about pragmatic crisis management to safeguard overall economic stability and public welfare when faced with severe threats. A rigid, ideological refusal to intervene, regardless of the scale of the potential crisis, could ultimately be a dereliction of a government's duty to its people. A pragmatic weighing of costs and benefits is always essential.
Dr. Carter, Ms. Hayes, thank you both for an engaging and enlightening discussion on this very challenging topic. You've expertly highlighted the core arguments. Dr. Carter emphasized bailouts as a conditional, last resort tool for macroeconomic stability and job protection. Ms. Hayes argued strongly against them, citing fairness, moral hazard, and the importance of market-driven outcomes and innovation. The debate over government bailouts clearly involves complex trade-offs between economic theory, ethical duties, and the practicalities of crisis management. We trust this conversation has offered our audience valuable insights and stimulated further thought. That concludes Cross Currents for this week. Thank you for watching, and good evening.